Hello, welcome to Feedback for the week of October 6th. I'm back after an extended delay.
Wait, not only are you back, you're really back,
billboard.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I did a billboard for Gunner Eyewear, and I thought, hey, let's do it naked. It's up on Sunset
obviously.
above the Viper Room. I don't know, it's kind of rock and roll.
It's very rock and roll. It's pretty awesome, actually.
That had nothing to do with why I was out. You might think it was because I needed to get clothes in Europe because I forgot to wear any. But no. It's actually for some wonderful content you're going to see next week, which is Epictober.
Yeah. And now we don't have to try to come up with obscure references or segues. It's great.
Yay, segues.
I don't get butt dialed at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. This phone I have, it called Abby. It was the afternoon in England.
It was like 3 a.m. where I was.
I feel terrible
No,
about
I
that.
started getting worried because it called so many times. I was like, God, maybe he's in trouble. I don't know what to do.
I love that. I'm like, Abby, I need your help. I'm in England. There are bears coming after me.
Wolves.
Yes. No. Anyone who thought I was going to that Workers' Party meeting in North Korea, no, that was a complete lie. That kid's fat. Really? But I mean, it's really rude in a country that's like been facing famine for that long. It's just like, I don't know.
That's how you tell he's powerful.
He's probably why.
Because he's fat.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Cut down.
Okay.
News.
News.
Yay.
Abby.
All right.
Did Nintendo say something last week?
Yeah, apparently. March 2011 is when we're getting the 3DS. And $300. Which I think Matt Kyle was right when we were making our predictions.
Yep.
Yeah, he was. And I mean, right now they haven't confirmed $300 for the U.S., but they've given the
Japanese,
price in
it's
yen.
25,000 yen, so we're kind of assuming, but it should be somewhere around there.
Okay, first off, do you guys think that this release date is going to hurt it? It sounds like they really wanted it to come out this year.
I don't think anything's going to hurt it.
Yeah.
And I would title this news segment, Why the Hell Did I Buy a DSi XL? And guess what my sister's getting for Christmas?
Hopefully she's not watching.
Barely used DSi.
You can just see someone at Nintendo going, oh, it's all working according to plan.
That's expensive, though. That's a console price. That's
is
a
a console price.
Okay, how much did the Wii launch at? That was $250, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the handheld is more expensive than the launch price of their console. I mean, I don't think the average consumer is going to do that math, but I guess I said this on my soapbox that you tend to overspend at the end of the year, and then you tend to spend the first part of the following year paying that off. I mean, I just don't know. It's going to sell out at launch, but I just don't know what's going to happen right after that, if it's going to be the same kind of mad frenzy to get a 3DS as it was for a Wii at $300.
I don't know.
It's steep.
I'm going to buy one.
I know. It's something I'm so
We say that, but
personally
I'm
excited. I
definitely
know.
getting one right away.
I'm just trying to think of like the average family, and the one thing I'm actually very interested in about with this is, Nintendo's already stated that this is not intended for very young children who are still developing their eyesight.
Right.
That's going to be a real
Suck it,
tough
kids.
messaging point, and they're going to have to really come face to face with it once this is getting close to launch.
Yeah.
Because that was always the thing. It was
What's
like,
the age,
get a
though?
kid
Isn't it like
a
6 or
DS.
7?
Yeah.
It's not that old.
But the DS, of all the gaming systems out there, skews so young. I mean, that tends to be sort of, Billy's first, gaming system.
Which was always
In
good. I mean,
Tokyo, everybody had one of those.
Yeah.
Kids, adults, everyone on the subways had their DSs on.
Plus,
I mean,
DS launched at $150, so it's actually manageable.
Affordable.
Yeah.
$300.
It's been going up ever since. I mean, it was $150 for that.
I'm going to do what I did with like the
$170.
PS2 when that first came out. I'm going to wait until a buddy has it, check it out, and decide if I want to have it. So, Abby, we're all going to be like staring over your shoulder as you play this thing.
Now,
sorry.
going back to when they, there's been some statements that they were actually hoping for, November. Their stock kind of tanked. I started to become very suspicious, even at E3. How many 3DSs did they have in that room? It was like 400, 500.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Who has 500 prototypes? I think those were finished models, and it was like the first run at the factory.
Possible?
Yeah, it's just like, it just... Or else Nintendo is so wealthy, yes, they can afford to prototype 500 of
Yeah,
these
they're
units.
just trying to scrap
No,
it.
it would not surprise me either. Yeah.
Now, I think one of the good things is that with this delay, I think third parties can get some games kind of,
There's
more
a
worked
huge
on.
slate of
Plus, they
launch
announced
titles.
tons of
Yeah,
games.
that's the thing.
I mean, I've got the list sitting in front of me, and I don't know if you guys have any standouts on here. We played Star Fox 64 3D at E3,
Yes,
and that
we
was
did.
awesomely fun, and the planes were coming in behind you, and it was super cool. Any standouts for you guys?
The 3D Professor Layton.
Oh,
is
Yeah,
the one that I
definitely.
just cannot
Because
wait to see
I
what
can
they
see
do
how
with
that can affect the puzzles. I mean,
Yep.
that is one. It's an impressive list of titles, but there's nothing I'm seeing on it that says we're really integrating the 3D in a very novel way into our gameplay. I mean, we saw like it works well with Star Fox, but once again, that is just an N64 game that with depth in it. I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing. And Kojima's game, whatever it is going to be, is the one I see him really kind of embracing what can be done on the 3DS.
Yeah. And yet I will still go for the Resident Evil stuff. I will still go for Animal Crossing again. I will probably play Paper Mario again. I will,
Everything we see at Kid Icarus looks... They keep showing more. Each of the trailers.
A lot of people have to be
everything.
excited for Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater.
Yeah.
The trailer that we saw at E3 was amazing.
Yeah. And also, there's the other thing that you and I saw, Abby, where it was really just a tech demo, but where you can have it focused on certain things, and suddenly you see a 3D image that isn't actually there, and you can move around it. I want something that plays with that. It is the coolest.
Yeah, it was
the
awesome.
coolest tech I've seen with the 3DS.
Dragon. It was amazing.
So, 3DS.
Yay,
I'm excited.
3DS.
We have to wait. I guess it'll be fun for spring.
He's so excited for Nintendo cats. It's amazing.
Yeah, and not Nintendo
In
dogs.
3D.
No, only the cats.
Only the cats.
Yeah, well, the other news is that there are a lot of games that will also be coming out this spring.
Yeah.
Gears of War 3 pushed to fall next year, which that's a weird one.
Yeah.
That is weird. It's huge, too.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of, and this has been something I've been saying a lot of, is that when you look at sort of what came out this year, or is coming out this year from Microsoft, we have Fable, so that's the Lionhead studio. We had the final game from Bungie, and there's Gears that was set for spring. Wasn't really saying what's going to be unique for Microsoft
I mean, looking at their
the end of
slate.
2011. They're running out of internal development.
Well, I think
Yeah.
what we were
Yeah.
talking about before was that this is probably a good indication that whatever 343 is working on for Halo wasn't going to be. It's not coming along.
But if they originally intended for that to come out next year, that's not good for the brand. I mean, I hopefully Microsoft will not do to Halo what it looks like Ubisoft is doing to Assassin's Creed, which is just having a lot of it all the time, and so it kind of loses that specialness, that novelty to the brand.
Which is actually interesting because Assassin's Creed will take a break next year.
It will take a break.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I mean, didn't Epic say it was originally that late of a date just so they could polish it more? And then this press release for this pushback, they were like, now this will be even more polished. basically.
Yeah.
So much polish
It'll
on
be
it.
really, really
You
polished.
can see your reflection in our overly polished
We
game.
used a whole bottle of
I mean,
Brasso on this game.
But yeah, it looks like they just needed like a big fall release almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
that's also, I mean, I can't see this happening. I mean, could they be integrating Kinect into it? I mean, with that much time of a game that, seemed on track for the spring.
I don't know
Nothing's
why
out of the
you would.
question,
I don't know
but
why
it
you
would
would
be-
either.
It would be a
No.
little
Yeah.
incongruous, yeah.
That
But
would
it
be
is,
weird.
No.
No.
And especially looking at what Sony has next year. I mean, I would declare next year the year of Sony with all of their, unique titles for the system. That, there really is, suddenly there's this remarkable imbalance that seems to be happening between
And
the two.
yeah. DC Universe is delayed again.
The fact that it was supposed to be coming out was so shocking to
I
me.
don't even remember when it was supposed to be coming out the first time now.
Because, I mean, it's almost the exact opposite of Duke Nukem Forever, which was just kind of off in the distance and it had this air of mystery. And DC Universe, I think I get a press release on this game every 5 minutes.
You
Yeah.
do.
Right.
It's like the Green Goblin's little brother Martin is going to be featured in DC Universe Online.
Well, that would be big because he's a Marvel character. But hey, I just played my nerd card right there.
You're right.
I nerded myself out.
Yeah, so that's been pushed. It's probably a good thing. I was kind of surprised that they were going to release that in a busy fall season.
Yeah.
Now they're releasing it in a busy spring season.
I know, we keep saying that, but the spring is just as
Yeah.
busy. And then
Definitely is busy.
Little Big Planet also
Yeah.
pushed to January. Again, stacking up in the fall.
Which I think is a good thing for that game. I love that franchise. I was just out in Guildford with all the very wonderful people that are at Media Molecule, and wow, this game is neat. And, I just think, here's an interesting fact. Did you guys know that Little Big Planet sold 3 million?
Oh.
Yeah, worldwide. But one of its biggest spikes happened a year after it launched. This has been one of the most remarkable
Do you know
slow
what's responsible
burn
for that? Or
I don't know, but I think part of it is that people were buying a lot of PS3s for the Blu-ray player initially.
Yep.
Maybe they have young kids. There really isn't. You have Ratchet, and you have Little Big Planet. I mean, it is definitely a
Well, it would
console
have
that
been.
skews
They
older.
did the Game of the Year edition. They had the wet pack that
That's
came
right,
out.
yeah.
I think word of mouth on this.
Yeah.
It really was a neat thing, and I mean, I still feel it was very educational for young kids just to give them this, fasting physics tool set and let
Absolutely.
them do stuff. And now I think I could make something because it's not as.
what are you going to make?
Well, they have the little mini games. I want something with a car and a sack boy with a wig on. I just love it. I just love that game. There was a billboard on Beverly when it was coming out 2 years ago, and I would drive by it every time I was going home from work. And after a tough day, just that little image of Sackboy just made me happier. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I can get by.
He's adorable. I made one, actually. I sewed one for a friend. It was not amazing. I'm not really good at sewing.
It's more Sack thing.
Yeah, no, it was all right. It turned out okay.
Sack blob.
I don't really possess any sewing skills. I just thought it would be sort of fun.
Why aren't those,
I made
like,
it out of like gloves and socks.
Why
and
aren't they
things.
available like at the store, like everywhere, hanging on the little
I know, I
like
really
checkout?
think
should be
I want
merchandise.
to
Isn't
buy
it one of the most kind of boneheaded pieces of merchandise? It's really interesting.
If you
Yeah.
go on Etsy, there's a ton of homemade
People make
ones,
their own,
and
yeah.
people make a ton of them. But I was always surprised that you couldn't just like buy the
Seems like totally
officially
natural fit.
licensed Sackboy.
Totally.
And then you
Sack
can buy
Girl.
all the clothes for it.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's kind of like an Xbox Live avatar in real life and adorable and interesting.
You can replace those Build-A-Bear workshops with Build-A-Sackboy
Or all those
workshops.
Zuzu's
I
pets.
never understood that
hamsters.
Build-A-Bear.
Ugh.
Well, do you have a large teddy bear collection?
I know, but I don't like the idea of
Are you
building the bear.
are you a
I like the
7-year-old
idea-
girl?
I like the idea that the bear just kind of emerges, out
Ready-made.
of nowhere. Yeah,
you wanna do the construction work on
the
the
idea
bear.
of building a teddy bear just kind of, it's just so, I don't know.
It's so labor intensive.
But it's also so industrial.
Well, I don't think they really make you, sew it together at the store.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's not
Sorry,
like
Mr. Sessler,
But
your needlework's not up to par.
Are you picking
It's like when you go to the ones where you make your own pottery. They don't
Yes.
make
But
you
so,
actually
okay,
pot
but it's like
pot the
It's like
thing. You just
Frankenstein.
have
You
to
pick
paint it.
bear parts from various bear things.
Yes.
Oh God, you're gonna come out with this horrible zombie bear conglomeration.
It's more like bear fast food. You're ordering like the bear you want. You're like,
Yeah.
I'll take that and that.
I'll have a happy bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NBA Elite also delayed,
Yes.
and that was supposed to come out today.
They
Yeah,
did.
and also sports games. They have a kind of a
You
clear
expect
cut
them to be
release
very
date
timely,
because
yeah.
it's supposed to happen right ahead of when the season for said sport. They're not even seeming. There's no clarity on when it's coming out.
Right.
No.
No,
Haven't said yet.
I mean,
possibly even next year.
was there any statement made?
They said
does,
basically.
does Cliffy B need to go over and polish it?
Yes, that's exactly what they're saying. The game needs more polish. They wanted it to be up to the standards they've established with the brand. And
Because they're
for
reestablishing it.
any delay, has anyone ever said anything other than it needs polish?
No.
Has anyone ever said
No.
it's not very good right now? We're going to try to get it
players
good.
keep running through each other. We don't know what's wrong.
We forgot to put the ball in the game.
It's a square.
Round ball.
But what's interesting, it's 2K11. The other NBA 2K11, the other game is still on schedule, and it's apparently looking great. So.
And that is the stronger of the two typically right now between 2K and EA. So I think this really could hurt them.
Yeah, it does.
Plus, I mean, maybe it has something to do with the NBA Jam?
Well, they wanted it to day and date with the NBA
Right.
Jam, but now it's like because it's coming out on the PS3
Yeah.
and the Xbox. Possibly.
I mean, that's not a very good reason. I don't know why.
We wanted to include
you
the
know what?
announcement.
I'm not doing EA's messaging for them. That's for the fine folks over there. Speaking of EA's messaging.
Damn it, you stole my segue. So now the Taliban in Medal of Honor is, opposing force, up 4. So it's not necessarily unexpected.
No, and I made
Yeah.
some comments on it. I think at the end of the day, I wish they had just done that in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that this was. I don't think it was a tempest in a teapot. I just don't think it also made. It just didn't make the game industry look very good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a current conflict, and it was definitely going to get people upset. I think that anyone. I mean, if
And then
anyone
that's why
went
they
into
ultimately
this,
said that they pulled it was
Yeah.
because
But
friends
But it's weird
and
that
families of
they
fallen
just didn't do it from the
soldiers
beginning.
didn't-
That they
yeah.
kind of wrote it until it became a problem and then decided to pull it.
I
Or
know.
it draws a lot of attention to your game
It does
and makes
draw a lot of
it and
attention.
puts a lot of
Yeah.
eyes on it.
And then it makes
It's-
you look like.
But
I mean, although they're marketing this game just a lot in general. I think last night, just going around LA, I saw maybe 4 billboards or whole
yeah.
sides of buildings.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
With
this
Dusty
is.
This is
on 'em.
tier 1. Is
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
big
Well, that's the
slogan.
thing too. It's like the push for like really realistic and really.
Yeah.
But then
Change the name.
I mean, the thing is, it doesn't change the game at all.
I know.
It's just
No, and
text
it's in the
that's not
multiplayer,
there
which
anymore.
really, as I've said, if they actually had you playing Taliban in the single player, I would have defended that quite avidly, because I think when you're doing a single player game, you're offering unique experiences. There's narrative and stuff like that. But multiplayer does not demonstrate anything accurate in terms of what war is like, and so then you kind of throw in the Taliban. That's where it gets a little bit like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just kind of glib, and for obviously there are people out there who are really dying.
Well, you just
so.
saw Jake had just seen a story before we came down about Jack Thompson kind of declaring victory over this thing, which is pretty
obviously,
annoying.
which he made it seem like he declares victory all the
Oh,
time.
why
And
is he
everyone-
still
he's always right.
around?
I know.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But
I hadn't heard that
I know.
name invoked
He's
in a long
raising his evil
time.
head
Yeah.
yet again.
He
So-
declared victory. Oh, you know what? He needs to feel good.
Yeah.
Let's give it to
Does
him.
he need to feel good?
Congratulations, Jack, on whatever
I
the
don't
hell
think
it is you did.
He doesn't really need to feel that good.
I mean,
No.
is he running the PXs? on all the international
Yes,
bases?
he needs to get the sales back up.
Maybe he's manning the till. He's like, I got a job somewhere out in Germany. It's one of them Berlin places. I don't think that Jack Thompson talks like this, but I
really hope he does, though.
He definitely
I
does.
wish he did. That would be good.
Find a country where he's actually allowed to practice law. Wasn't he disbarred here?
North Korea.
Yay! Send Jack Thompson to North Korea. We'll start a petition after this.
Sounds
Jack, I did it for you. that
was the
smirk,
fun.
That
That's where
come
it came
hither
from.
look. It's for you, Jack. I like that Cessla. He's giving me that look on now.
So did they go and reskin all of the
No.
characters?
I don't think it's reskin.
Because,
They're just changing
I mean,
the
that's
name.
the thing is like when you're playing, multiplayer games without having it's a label. I
It
mean,
won't
that's just
affect
what
the
you're calling
gameplay
it.
at all. Yeah,
Right.
it's
I
just
mean,
the fact that they gave
it's still
it.
pretty
In
obvious
Call
who
of
you
Duty-
are and that you're not really the good guys. Anyway.
Well, in Call of Duty, it's just kind of general terrorist. We just didn't say
Right.
Hamas,
Exactly, that's what I'm
Hezbollah,
saying.
something like that. It's
It was up for, in fact, wasn't it?
yeah, up for. I just always
But see, there's no
what's not for?
fear over Nazis when you're playing it against the Americans
yeah,
in a
but
World
you know
War
what?
II
I'll
game.
be frank. I didn't like it.
You didn't like being the Nazis.
I felt. I mean, just
No one wants
obviously
to be the Nazis.
Well, but it's just also
somewhere in the world.
That's
I'm
once again
sure.
another conflict brings a lot of pain and memories for a lot of people, and I always felt like I don't know about having fun in it like this. And the other thing I thought that there's quite some danger is people being inappropriate while playing the Taliban. That could have been a PR disaster. So I mean, I think
People are going to be inappropriate
I know,
anyway.
Yes.
I know.
There'll be
Just
some,
like,
at least
some
now it's
op
just
for
on the players.
teabagging going on. I'm
Seriously.
sure.
And speaking of games that actually have dates now, World of Warcraft Cataclysm finally dated. That will be coming out on December 7th.
Pearl Harbor Day. Is there a connection?
Oh boy,
I would
we better
imagine
move that
not.
date. This is contract Activision right now.
Needs polish.
Needs polish.
So I mean. It's what's so funny is usually I would say like, God, that's pretty late. They're going to miss that whole Christmas rush.
Yeah,
Except
I don't
it's
know
World
if
of
that
Warcraft.
matters.
The only thing is, why did they decide to announce it when they did? I assumed they were going to do this at BlizzCon.
That's what I
That
thought
was what we
too.
all thought.
Maybe a leak was going to happen or something. And
Who knows?
They cut it off at the end. Or
Also,
whatever.
why do people hold these release dates so tightly?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's an MMO. You actually want to be sure that everything is going to go perfectly. But yeah, it's just I like to plan things on my calendar. You know, it's just like, oh, look, Pearl Harbor Day. I'll be
Especially
playing
since
WoW.
They said it was going to be
Will you?
by the end of the year.
No.
And it clearly was. So
Just
they
barely.
knew they were going to
3 weeks
make it.
before the end of the
seems,
year.
but-
What's interesting because I think with that, pretty much all of Cataclysm that you need to know is now known, which means BlizzCon. I mean, that's a lot of Diablo. I bet that's happening there.
Probably, maybe they were just
Stoked.
clearing the decks. For
They
all
told us it'll be
Diablo.
tons of Diablo.
Yeah, I know.
I am going to BlizzCon this year because finally the game that I want to see take center stage.
And
is
I
to be there.
am with you.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Gah, I just got to chill. That Chris Matthews really thrill up my leg.
This one will make you excited too. Batman Arkham City has interrogation mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
this
can
is pretty
like kick the
interesting.
guy out of the crowd who you know is going to squeal. I love that idea.
Anyway, but that sounds very Batman. Like he's like, yeah,
That guy's
Yeah.
gonna snap.
He's the
that's
weak
the
one.
of the bunch. Yeah, I'm gonna go after him.
I also like that it's
If
basically
Batman was looking at us right now, which one would squeal?
Probably
Who's the
Jake.
informant?
I think Jake.
I think
probably
Jake.
would. Yeah.
Sorry, Jake.
But then I get
It would probably be
beat up by
me,
Batman.
actually.
Really?
But the best part,
I have my threshold for pain is very, very
But
low.
I think actually it was that he has to beat the crap out of everybody else to get
Oh,
you
yeah.
to
which is what I
talk.
like. It's like tangential towards.
So I would
her.
talk.
Like
I
you
would
So
just-
it's actually
Yeah,
how
you
much
just know
sympathy
it
you have
sounds like
towards
that
us.
once you're with the guy, Batman can go overboard and kind of just take him out as well.
Yeah. He does get a
Yeah,
little
you gotta watch
bloodlust
it.
every now and then.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds better than that Punisher game where that was a little much. That's rough. Remember that? Yeah.
When he had to beat him up and talk and interrogate him. Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, you went to a magical place.
I did. Austin, Texas. It was magical. I went to Fantastic Arcade. Fantastic Fest is a big film festival, a geek genre, sci-fi, horror, thriller film festival. This year they added an arcade feature where they brought in a ton of indie developers and the whole Xbox Live Feast, whatever it's coming up. They have their Feast that's coming. They had all those games there and the developers from those games. So Mike Wilford from Comic Jumper was there.
Are they really calling it a feast?
Yep,
It is called
that's their
XBLA Feast. Yes.
Their-
That just
the second
kinda sounds
summer
They've
version.
got summer
You know,
and
there's
now
been so
Feast.
many games this year that have had like cannibal themes that I think I just naturally think of cannibalism, even though I probably
I
shouldn't
just
when
had,
someone's
When you
like,
hear the word
feast.
feast.
I had like a Goya
Everyone
painting in my
excited about
head of some
Thanksgiving?
sort of like horrific, just tearing it.
That's what it was like.
Yeah.
We
Two
feasted
very
on
dark
games.
visions. of feast.
Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, there were some really cool standout games. Monaco, which we saw at PAX, is just incredibly delightful. Andy Schatz, the developer, is a really just sweet, awesome guy. The game is a 4-player co-op. You're breaking into these buildings to steal something, and each person takes a different role. There's the lock picker, there's the medic, and everything. It's a great fun game, especially when you can play by yourself, but you can also play with 4 people, which is great. There's a bizarre, awesome game coming out on the iPad, iPhone called Sword and Sorcery with a W in it, which is weird. EP. It's sort
Sorcery?
of sorcery. It's extra sorcery.
Does that mean that someone actually owns Sword and Sorcery?
Well, it's not a franchise. I think it's a franchise.
franchise.
I thought it was like a Dungeons and Dragons alternative, but
It's like your cut rate one.
it's awesome. It's
I work for
very.
Steve Jackson Games. I do Swords and Sorcery.
Somebody does
Jack
probably,
Thompson.
and he's
That's
probably
the same.
listening to this
okay,
right
good.
now.
That was Jack Thompson. I wasn't sure if
He
that
gets
was
around. He's a
the
very
only
busy
voice
guy.
you could
He's
do.
he's like Al Capone or something. But yeah, it's a cool mechanic. You turn your iPad or your iPhone to go into combat, and then you turn it back to go into exploration. It was kind of nice. A game called Feist. Why? Because it makes it different. It's going to turn into the whole Metroid thing.
I
where you
was,
have to
about, I was
turn-
trying not to bring that up.
We've gone down this path too much. It's like, I'm happy with one thing. I'm never going, I wish I could tilt.
You're going to want to.
look.
You're going to wish that with Sword and Sorcery. Feist. These German developers.
More
I thought it was, I thought it was that
Feist?
singer. Isn't there a
Feist.
singer? Isn't
Yeah,
there a lady,
Yes, there
a lady
is.
singer named
Feist.
Feist?
It's not that singer. It's It looks like Limbo, but you're a little puffball creature. But the graphics look exactly like Limbo. They're both in the Unity engine. They were developed at the same time. It's not like they lifted it, but it's a cool game. It'll probably hit XBLA.
I love like there's this creative espionage. Like someone's doing a strange black and white platformer.
Let's take
I'm
it.
gonna steal that idea.
Yeah, remember when everything was cell shaded for a while after a few games did that? I wonder if that's going to happen with Limbo. Needhog was also a standout.
This is NIDHOGG for people out there.
Which is a Norse word meaning the dragon that lives under the world that eats the roots of the tree of life. Or
That's so
something like
cool that like there was once a culture that had a single word for that.
that. Yeah, it's like the Eskimos with other words for snow.
We really
and
need
everything.
better words.
Yeah,
Just like- it's like,
we should
we
start making
need a
some up.
word for that dragon that's going to destroy us one day.
Let's make them up. Let's start coining our own phrases.
We
Our
could do
Adam
that on
practically
this
does.
podcast if we hadn't spent 5 minutes talking about the Build-A-Bear workshop.
So then Needhog is like sword football. You're trying to battle and go. You can only go one direction. Your opponent is trying to go the other way, and each time you kill him, you can advance a little. It's great fun. It's totally retro, and the graphics are extremely Atari 2600 era. But cool stuff. We'll have write-ups on all this online. You can read about them.
G4TV.com.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to talk about some games that recently came out. Let's start on the indie game thing and talk about our good friends over at Twisted Pixel.
Yes, Comic Jumper.
Comic Jumper. I have been eagerly awaiting this
It's
game.
so funny. And they all have, there's like video in it, and there's all these cameos from the Twisted
Yep.
Pixel group, and it is
Great.
just fantastic.
Well, also, I mean, kudos to them. I mean, they started with the Maw, then they went to Explosion Man. Now, both those games, they kind of had a single gameplay hook that they just kind of expanded on. This one, they really went for the kitchen sink. I mean, this is about as much as I've ever seen in something that we can classify as an indie game.
Yep. And it's enormous. I mean, totally enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single production value in this, even the songs, which Jake is a huge fan of the song at the stat screen.
The stat screen song is like almost like still alive. It's like
Yeah.
at that caliber.
You got to sing some of it. Sing a
Sing
little
it.
bit.
I
Sing
don't
for
know
us.
it, but it's like it'll comment
Just sing,
on.
Jake.
I can't sing.
You did it earlier. He's
It
like,
doesn't matter.
Look at all those kills.
The
you
best
know.
part is they ask you to watch the cutscenes. It's like, look how many cutscenes you skipped. We worked so hard on them. Come on, that's so great. No, it's amazing. But it is an impressive visual feast.
Now, Jake, you did the review, so funny, but then how does it play?
The gameplay ends up being a little bit repetitive just because, I mean, you could say that about, Explosion Man is just, you just hit A and you explode.
Yeah.
But for this, the presentation is so impressive, and that's kind of where it makes up for it. Basically, all you do is hold trigger and aim. So you're just shooting with these two guns, and you aim all over the screen as you run.
And that's what
side
I'm
to
talking about how much platforming is in the game.
Not that much. You basically just jump and you grab onto a pipe every
There
now and
is,
then
but
and stuff.
it's simple.
Yeah.
And,
And basically what they
and there's
do-
some places that like vary up the gameplay a little bit, but I think the core mechanic is the shooting.
It's just
around.
shooting.
Yeah.
And
punching.
You can upgrade your weapons, but they end up not really feeling that strong. But the way that they change change the presentation, not just in the styles of the comics, which are fantastic, jumping from Conan the Barbarian to Silver Age to
Japanese.
Oh my God.
When you're fighting your way through high school.
the tentacles.
That's their high school.
So
Yeah,
basically,
that's their-
they do all that to kind of vary it up. You'll be side scrolling, and then it'll be third person, and then one time you'll be falling down
Yeah,
like
the
a skyscraper and shooting.
perspective
They
switches
switch
are
it up,
cool.
and then also like the full motion video stuff of seeing them, like the developers in the game. The fact that Twisted Pixel is in the game as they built the machine that lets him jump between comics.
And you
So
can see them like walking by in the background.
Like they do
It's
so many great
funny.
things.
No, we brought this up. This is what Matt Hazard was trying to do with
Yeah.
the humor and the self-referential and stuff. But it sounds like it's working here because there's actually a game underneath
Definitely.
it.
Oh
to
yeah,
support it.
absolutely.
There is.
I mean, well,
And
yeah.
the constant banter back and forth
Yes.
between
Their writing is
Captain Sprite,
hysterical.
it's so good.
Okay, so funny in games is one of the most elusive things. I will say it again, even though I liked Conquer when it first came out. Game ain't funny. Pacing of the humor is just horrific, and it's just everything that should be funny kind of drops dead. What is working in Comic Jumper?
I mean, first of all, just the fact that it's this
Actually
failed
funny.
comic. It's actually funny. And the setup to it of this failed like comic book hero who has to like kind of being cameos of other comics is just inherently.
Well,
kind
one of the full
hysterical.
motion videos is a comic book store clerk answering the phone and saying, "What, Comic Jumper? No, we don't carry that crap."
Carry that
And he
crap.
hangs up.
And
stuff.
yeah, I mean the banter between him and then the character, is just
Because he has a
hysterical.
star on his chest
Yeah,
that talks.
he's like a foul mouthed kind of sidekick.
And because
but
they're
he's a chest
playing
kick.
in all of these different genres, there's
Yeah.
a lot of variety to the humor. And then there's Brad, the really douchey. I mean, 'cause
He's
they-
got
That
a
is the-
song about
that
how
is-
he's a douche.
yeah,
Brad.
exactly.
Brad is the
Yeah.
yes, right there. I was already sold on this game when I knew the bad guy's name is Brad, and he has a Brad copter.
Yep.
He's a Brad copter.
And, the
Brad
star,
Bots.
and the
And the
star
Brad
is
Bots,
obsessed
yeah.
with it. He thinks he's
And the star
coolest
loves
guy.
him, so he's always
Hey,
like
Brad,
kissing
let's
his
hang
ass.
out later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
once again,
it's
about how big is the Twisted Pixel team? Do you know, Abby?
God, they're expanded. They've expanded from what they were when they
Yeah.
started, but it's really small. I mean, like
They're very small.
10, 15 maybe.
I mean, as with
more.
always.
I think it's more now, but it was really tiny at first.
Well, once again, props to you guys. I'm always impressed with that team, and I always
When
look
you
forward to
finish
what
the
they
game, I mean,
have.
you pretty much see everyone
Yeah,
in
you'll
the
see 'em all.
team. So
There's another game that came out. It's called The Dead Rising 2. Dead Rising, I think one of the more discussed games from the early part of this generation because you either loved it or you hated it, and even if you loved it, you knew you were loving it despite some real serious problems
yeah,
with that game.
and it came out in August, and there wasn't that much else coming around.
Yeah, it was
and,
kind of a perfect
And
thing.
I mean, the premise, zombies. We all love killing zombies. I mean, that's the thing is this game essentially combines the thing that I love the most, killing zombies, with the things that I hate the most, is being timed and escorting people around.
Oh, everything that I hate in games is basically
And load
Pretty much
screens.
Wrapped
that.
in
That's
with
pretty much
zombies.
everything
Zombie
that I
killing.
hate.
Go ahead
Load
and list that
screens,
out because
load
I've never
screens.
looked at the game this way, but you're dead on.
So for me, the kind of the three big things that I just despise in any game is escort missions, backtracking, and timed anything.
Yes.
And that's essentially the entire game.
Yeah.
With killing
No,
thousands
to
of
be
zombies.
fair, some of the survivors are better.
This time around they
this
do.
time
They fend for
around.
themselves. But
That-
that
yeah.
I just
Now,
could never get past.
Kevin Kelly, apparently,
But I lead
according
them
to
through
Jake,
other doors
you
and
love
stuff.
escort missions, timed events, and
No,
backtracking.
I will say there is a really great game buried underneath that
Yeah, there is.
unfortunate crap.
I don't think
When it's
anybody
working
disagrees
right,
with
you're
that,
just
but-
like, oh my god, this is so great. Now, you can also play Terror is Reality in Dead Rising 2. That's the reality show that's in the game.
That's fun.
You can go into that and you play 4-player multiplayer, and there's all these mini games you play like Pound of Flesh, where you have your character has this giant helmet on with huge antlers, and you have to knock zombies onto a giant scale, and whoever gets the most on their scale wins that little one. There's Ramster Ball, where you're in a giant hamster ball knocking around. That is awesome.
Yeah.
The game, I gave up so quickly because, first of all, the save mechanic. That's another thing you need to add to your hate list because you've got to find a bathroom whenever you want to save.
Right, and
frequently
we
you
knew
just
to
don't think
expect
about
that from the first
But
one.
you think
but
so many people
I
complained.
have had
Why not update it?
I've had moments where I've been like, oh, I forgot, and now I'm
You're
gonna
being
have to
chased
do
by
this
zombies. Is he
over
really gonna?
again.
He could go to the bathroom
Yeah, I mean,
wherever
that's
he wants.
the thing is that I
That's what
kind
I
of
would
know
do.
what they're going for, and I really did enjoy the first Dead Rising. Though to be fair, I played the first Dead Rising not when it came out, when suddenly there was no other games to play, and I had like a laptop open to a walkthrough because I just wanted to kind of experience the game. It's so funny. Dead Rising seems to have all these great things, and then doesn't really give you access to it.
Yeah.
No,
It's
I
It
was
is
exhausting.
one of the
I was
strangest
more
game designs ever.
prepared this time
Yeah, that's
because having
probably-
played the first one, I knew what I was in for, and that helped.
But that's,
Yeah.
But-
that's the thing. It seems like it wants so desperately to prevent you from enjoying
Yeah.
what it sets up for you to enjoy.
Because
Like,
I
I'm
love
stabbing
making
like
my
a
own
zombie.
weapons and
Yes.
ridiculous stuff
like-
and shoving.
But when
them
you're in the
out
middle,
of
slicing
way.
up
you're in the middle of a
zombies.
fight. You pointed this
I was
out.
like
You're in the middle of a
slicing
fight,
up
and then it's like
zombies.
your watch.
It's like,
Oh,
I gotta go.
Gotta
Sorry.
get back.
Okay, well, the part I think that pissed me off the most is you have to keep going back to give your daughter Zombrex
Yes.
every 24 hours. The thing is there's someone else in the room with her, and I just want to be able to hand them the goddamn stuff and say, give it to her.
Yeah.
Give it to her between 7 and
Yeah,
8 a.m.
and it's a
You're
helpful
an adult.
person.
You can
She's
figure
not
this out.
antagonistic. She's helpful. The girl material that's
Well,
in
it's
there.
also, I mean, Zombre's
I
got a lot
waited
more
around for, like,
powerful
2
from Case
hours.
0 to Dead Rising 2, where it's only 12 hours in Case 0.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they. It's it is
It was
extended
Zombrex.
release.
It was extended.
Or XC or whatever.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe they did.
But the timing ended up really awkwardly because I would do a bunch of missions and then I would have like an amount of time to kill, like 2 hours or something, where I couldn't go do something else.
Yes.
Right.
Because clearly I wouldn't have time to do it.
So you gotta
but
go
I
back
have
and
to just
wait.
sit there. I would put my watch up to the screen and then I would go do other in my apartment and then I would keep looking and come back and then
It's
I'd give her the
annoying.
Zombrex and figure out something
Now,
else.
why
to do.
does this happen? Inafune himself made those famous comments at TGS where he finds that Japan is well behind in terms of innovation, quality, and that kind of stuff. And I actually used to use Dead Rising as one of those examples where it's like, great game, and you don't know how to close the deal. And it seems to have happened again with Dead Rising 2.
Maybe he's so perfectly pointing it out that he's like saying, even I am guilty of this.
I'm
Because
surprised
I've
that
done
some of
it
the
twice
boss
now.
battles were as hard as they
Yeah.
were the
Yeah.
first time around too.
Actually, that is, I think, where my biggest frustration with the game is that, a hardcore game does not mean punishing difficulty that prevents you from getting to
Exactly.
have the full experience.
Yeah, I actually would have had. I mean, I enjoy going through and playing games, again on a hard mode, but this didn't help my enjoyment of the game in
But
any
it's also,
way.
it wasn't consistently impossible. It was
No.
like when you got to those fun boss battles.
Then
it's
it was
like,
impossible.
I mean, the only way I could figure out how to do it, and this is even true in Case 0, is I had to kind of, work the system rather than work with the system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you can,
Yeah, it
co-
always
or you
seems like
can
you're
co-op
cheating.
this time around, which is
yeah,
an
that
addition.
actually helps a
It's
lot.
actually, it's very helpful if you have another
Yeah.
co-opper join you. So.
But I should be able to play the game just as well by
Yeah.
myself
Sure,
or
yeah,
with
no,
another
I mean, that's,
Definitely.
that's,
I
that's, that's
totally
the problem I have with Resident Evil 5. It's like, it's a lot better with co-op.
But Capcom loves that because Monster Hunter Tri.
Oh.
You can't play that by yourself.
Story-wise, I found Chuck a lot more engaging than Frank.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I like
absolutely.
the story and the
I
characters.
guess Frank was so
I like the
goofy
story.
and
I wanted to know
stereotypical.
what happened.
Taking photos.
Yeah, the photos are out. I mean, I think that's another thing. I mean, a lot, they really noticed a lot of things to improve from the first one, but then now it's so head scratching.
And I actually like taking photos as an element of the game. The thing is that it just when you're trying to kill zombies, it's
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
I don't know. If I was ever in a mall filled with zombies, I think I probably wouldn't think about my career that much.
Yeah.
No.
Granted, I guess war journalists, they're like,
That's it.
I'm going to go
That's
to
it.
Lebanon.
I actually
It's
1982.
1982.
avoided.
Yeah.
I found myself avoiding zombies sometimes a lot more than I was actually killing them. Partially
Yeah.
because I was really tied to some of the weapons that I had, and I knew and sometimes I'd already died, and I was going back to something that I knew was hard, and I didn't want to waste my really super good combo weapons, so I just ran around all the zombies.
Now, I haven't played as much as you guys. Is there anything the equivalent of the small chainsaws from Dead Rising 1, like that one go-to weapon that was pretty much essential if you want to get through
Oh,
stuff?
I love the baseball bat with nails.
That's it. That's mostly what I use
what I
early on
use
because
the
it's
most.
Very
easy to make.
powerful, and it's got a great
you can find
swing.
it
and you
everywhere.
can get it right out
Yeah.
of the safe
Yeah.
room.
You can keep making it and just.
There's a lot of
destroys
the really,
of them.
really cool combo weapons only kill one zombie. Like,
Yeah,
you have
the
stuff like
bucket
with
head.
the drills and the bucket head, and there's another with the fireworks. And
Mm-hmm.
but killing one zombie is completely worthless
Yeah.
to me. I mean, you get a lot of points for doing that, but at the same time, like I want something that is going to knock them all
The
out of the
paddle,
way.
the paddle
and the
chainsaw
advantage,
is pretty.
The ore with the chainsaw.
the
Yeah.
advantage that it has too is it's lighter. So
Right.
it's not as heavy to swing
Right.
as the stuff with the sledgehammer or the axe. So it makes it really, really useful because it's quick and it's deadly.
It wipes
and,
out a bunch.
It's
one
yeah,
swipe.
it's fun, and the finishing move for it is
Oh
awesome.
god, the sound effect of the nails hitting the skull.
And see, and
pretty great.
that's the thing about like I don't dislike Dead Rising. I
No,
really,
it's exactly
really,
the point.
really
We are
enjoy
complaining
it.
here, but what there is to like is so kind of fundamental, it's almost not discussable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got to dig through to get to that enjoyable stuff.
I think my one thing is, and I might even be a little more be speaking more positively about it if it didn't come out in October, or September, whatever, when it
Yeah,
actually
the last
came out.
one had a great August release date,
I know.
and you just kind of
I
had the
find
summer to sit
there's-
around, screw around with
There's
it.
something very cumbersome about Dead Rising, and when there's all these other games coming out, it's like, ooh, do I really want to take that on right now? It just, it's like it's like going to that relative's house. It's just, oh God, I have to tell them what I've been doing with my time. You know, like that. Actually, the other description I have for Dead Rising and the way it's trying to keep you from having fun. Didn't we all have that one rich kid in school who was really antisocial? He had all the stuff he wanted to play with, but it meant having to endure him as
But
well.
hang out with them. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
Can definitely.
I can't
That's a
remember what
good
that guy's
analogy.
name was. But man, he was a All right, so that's it. Obviously, you can read it. It's a very, very good review from both Comic Jumper, from Jake, and one of our fine freelancers worked on Dead Rising 2. You can find them both at g4tv.com. Let's move on to a question of the week from OCELOTFOX. I believe we've heard from him before. Have we? Does that
Maybe
sound?
Probably.
OCELOTFOX,
Yeah.
maybe.
We'll have to start keeping track of who's
Yeah.
most
If
frequent.
it's not
because-
Boner Jam, we
It's not
don't
Boner Jam,
remember.
It's not Boner Jam.
I feel like we have this small cadre of people who understand how to write thoughtful questions.
Yes.
So he says, "Hey, feedback crew, look at that. He addressed it to us. I like
nice.
that.
No.
I had a rough weekend.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, OCELOTFOX.
So on Sunday night, when I sat down in front of the TV, I just started playing Donkey Kong Country 2 for no particular reason. Yet it felt like the right thing to do at the moment, and I came away feeling much more relaxed and at peace with everything. So my question is, what game do you turn to when you need to feel better, or you just want to get away from it all? I like this question. Of course, my answer is definitely not Donkey Kong Country 2. That game does not.
Sorry, OCELOTFOX.
I you know there are games. Most of the ones I like this are hack and slash. Like I will go play 2 Human, like or something like that. Or like just recently when I got back, I was so jet lagged I couldn't think. Death Spank, exactly up. You know that's
Yeah.
my. I want to just hit a button, kind of upgrade a little bit,
Yep.
but not feel threatened.
Laugh every now and
Yeah,
then.
I mean, obviously, like nothing for me, nothing with a narrative. Just because if I'm like that, I don't want to pay attention to anything. I go for puzzle games. I play Droplets, way too much. That's sort of my go-to. Like I found it really, really addictive. It came out on an arcade, I think, last year, and that one kills me. But I go to like puzzly things. It's just like it's so mindless, and it's like I know exactly how to do it. It's repetitive. It's easy. Doesn't require thought.
I hate thinking. Jake,
Yeah. Puzzle games also. A lot of iPhone games for that kind of just
Sure.
want to sit back on the
Shibuya
couch.
has been my
Yeah.
one too. Yeah.
But for consoles, probably like MLB The Show. Like I'm a big baseball fan, so to just kind of get in there and
so
take
like
some
the
batting
nation's
practice and-
pastime is your pastime virtually.
See, I'm America, is what I'm saying.
Booyah.
Yeah, look at you, Jake.
Nice.
You're really something.
Butt kisser. For me, well, for a while I would play Flower or Flow to chill, but those are like kind
yeah.
of like too obvious. When Burnout Paradise came out with that big DLC pack,
Sure.
I played that to zen out a billion times. It was so relaxing. Just you could jump in, race around wherever you want. You don't have to engage in the events. You don't have to race with online racers if you don't want to. If you do, whatever. If not, I'm just gonna jump my car around and be a complete douchebag and cause a bunch of wrecks.
My other one
Awesome.
is totally not Left 4 Dead, and that doesn't seem like
that makes
but that
sense.
does almost it doesn't though because it should be really stressful because there's zombies coming.
Yeah,
at you and
but
whatever,
it
but
fits
I-
what you said.
It's a
It does.
release.
It's not really a story that you have to kind of go through, and like you can have a unique but familiar experience every time you play.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't really need to think about it, and I can kill lots of things, and that's more like my anti-stress. I'm sorry, I hang out all day with you guys, and then I go home and I just shoot
I just
things.
want to kill things.
This is funny. I'm a judge for E3 and stuff, and there's kind of this judges week that happens about a month before it, and it's long, it's tiring. You start getting frustrated because you just you're eating too many sliders, stuff like that. At the end of the week this year, it was Capcom. And I sat down to play Dead Rising 2, and I got to say, the minute I picked up a bat and hit a button, I mean, it was so, yeah. So there are, yes. I actually Dead Rising, ironically,
and
is
that's
something.
the good part of it because you didn't really weren't necessarily having the time to sit down and play through all the missions and get that
Yeah.
stress of the timing and the survivors that don't go through the damn door and you just
I
get
was
to
sitting
whack
with
things
Rob Smith,
and that's why I love it too.
beating zombies over the head.
It is very soothing to just mow through groups of zombies.
Absolutely.
Just
It's
let me
funny
do
'cause
it.
That's what Toby Hooper said was the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was at a very busy hardware store. He looked at the chainsaw and just had this fantasy of just making a path for himself by carving through people.
That is not disturbing at all.
No. And he's the fine director of Life Force as well,
Oh.
which I have on my TiVo. Which
I've been to the
Nice.
airport. I've been to the DMV. We've all had these
Yes.
fantasies.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's where they need to
Oh
put
yeah,
the
I've been
next
traveling on
Dead
so
Rising.
many planes. I'm at the point.
airport.
I'm gonna shank a fool.
The boarding process
At
has
the
become
airport.
unbearable.
That'd be a
Yeah.
good game.
So
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, OCELOTFOX. I think that's pretty much it for
Yeah,
this edition
we'll be
of
back
Feedback.
next week.
Next week, Epictober. There is so much awesome content that you are going to be finding on the site. We are going to be here to discuss that. But yeah, definitely get
And
there
our
on
game of the
Monday.
week is Medal of Honor.
I think we're going to be talking about some Medal of Honor.
All right.
You're reviewing it right now. Maybe, you'll tell us what the
I will
opposing
next week.
force is like.
Next
All right. Thanks for watching Feedback. Remember, always on G4TV.com, going up new every Wednesday. See you next week.
Bye.
Hello there. I'm Adam Sessler, host of X-Play, editor-in-chief at G4TV.com. I talk a lot about video games, and sometimes a camera is in front of me when I'm doing that. We call that Sessler's Soapbox. It takes about 2 minutes of your time, but trust me, you will hear invective and joy and probably a lot of rude things like you've never heard before in the context of video games. I do it for you, so you should check it out. It's up every Tuesday on G4TV.com.